what had happened was we was out and about.
Who's us?
I told you, me, my,
okay, yeah.
They had missed. I wasn't here.
Yeah, she was supposed to be with us, but she was out of town. So, and we went to go support CC. We stayed there for a while. So when we was leaving, Mom was like, "I'm hungry." So Shell was like, "Me too. Y'all want to go to Limelight?" So she was like, "Let me call up there and see if the kitchen's still open and see if they let me put the order in over the phone, because you know that's her little spot. She stay up there. She got seniority." So we get up there, we chilling. They just about to end karaoke. So the guy was like, "All right, we down to the last song." So I ran up there real quick. I was like, "Can I do a song?" And he was like, "Which one?"
You gotta get to the juicy of the story. We don't want to have the background.
Okay, we love background. We get to the good stuff because that's what I want to hear.
All right, long story short, me and we stayed at the bar, and I kept saying, "Somebody smell good over here. Oh my God, like they smell, you know, it's something about a man that smell good." I was like, "Somebody smell good." So it was like 3 other guys standing next to us. So we trying to figure out who the hell it is. So other 2 guys walk away. So Mom was like, "It's him. It's him." So I was like, real low key. Yep, that's him. That's him. So
what do you smell like?
Not, baby, you just don't want me to have nobody. 18 years worth of child support while you being weird to me. That's how good he smelled.
Okay.
So I didn't think Sho was paying attention until I seen her lean over. She said, "How you doing?" He was like, "I'm good. How are you?" She was like, "I'm good. What's your name?" So he tell her his name. She was like, "You single?" He was like, "Yeah." She was like, "This young lady standing behind you is single too. Her name's Shauna." I'm back there like, "Oh, Jesus Christ." One thing she is, that's my wing woman. I recommend everybody have a gay wing woman or wing man because they can go extra hard.
No, she sucks as a gay wing man for me. I don't. Not mind.
No, she didn't.
I pause.
A gay wing? What?
I take that back. Never mind.
That's I said. Everybody needs a gay wing woman or a gay wing man because they gonna go extra hard for you.
Or an extroverted one because I should be sitting there looking at people.
Yeah, and Brandon's just like Brandon gonna make some faces, but he not gonna say nothing.
No. I'm
So
not.
anyway, he was like, yeah. He said, yeah, I saw out the corner of my eye, I seen it in my peripherals or something. I was like, I was over here drinking my drink, minding my business, eating my chicken wings, or whatever. So he turned around, introduced himself or whatever. That's when I realized how fine this mother was. They be chocolate, tall, thick, pretty white teeth.
I still ain't seen them.
You seen the picture?
You didn't? I didn't see a picture.
It's you know with an iPhone when you exchange numbers and they got an iPhone and they say update your photo and
I have one.
I sure do.
She just came part of the team and was trying to tell us the instructions.
Right.
Go ahead.
Yeah. I had an iPhone for 10 years.
Fuck both of y'all. Anyway.
No, proceed with the story. I want to know what happened.
No, so we talking, chit chat. He was like, "What you drinking?" I told him what I was drinking or whatever. Mind you, I'm already lit at this damn point, but if you gonna buy me a drink, I'm taking a drink. So we sitting there chit chatting and whatnot. So he kept hugging up on me and stuff and yeah, he kept hugging me and stuff. And I told you he was thick, so it was real comfortable. It felt like a teddy bear.
And you know it smelled good too. So that was the double.
Yeah, it wasn't nothing but the devil. And my coochie was beatboxing.
Oh, not me.
bitch. So anyway, Ma is behind us co-signing. She's like, "Where you work at? What you?"
Oh, she trying to get the information.
She want a new son-in-law.
She did. She want a son-in-law. Cause she single. You single? You single? So she's like, we just started chit chatting or whatever. I can't remember everything that we talked about or whatever, but I just know he just kept putting his arm around me, and then he kissed me on my forehead, child, and I was just like, oh no,
we want the rest of the juice. Skip all that. Come on, get to the juicy
shut
part.
up.
We want the juicy part.
Yes, we want the juicy part. Yes.
Anyway,
keep talking.
We getting ready. We sit there chit chatting or whatever. We getting ready to leave. So he give my hug, give Shell a hug, whatever. They start walking outside. So then he grabbed me and give me a hug or whatever. We had already exchanged numbers at this point. He give me a hug. So then he said, I forgot how he worded it exactly, but he said something about wanting to kiss me, and I was like, what? I was like, why you want to kiss me? He was like, cuz.
Scared?
And this man kissed me, and I was like, I promise you, my body went like this.
Excuse me. He kissed you in the mouth?
He kissed me in the mouth, friend. He
mouth.
He kissed me in the mouth.
Kissed you in the mouth.
Kissed me in the mouth. And
Jesus.
My body went like this, and my brain went, bitch, get out of here. Abort mission. Abort mission.
Not you going.
I did. I promise you, I went. Ain't nobody kissed me like that in a long damn time. I walked up the door. I said, why the fuck did y'all leave me in there by myself? Why did y'all leave my y'all tried to set me up. And this bitch right here between my legs keep talking to me. Get in the car. It's time to go.
See, and that's what happens when I don't come with you. See, the things
I probably still would have kissed him in the mouth.
So what happened after that?
Nothing. We just been talking.
Oh, okay, well that's good. So
been talking on the low, but she be sitting there giggling at her phone.
Come on, giggle. So is there a date plan or like
not yet? No, we haven't planned. We just been chit chat because we work different shifts. He work night shifts.
Oh, okay.
I work day shifts.
Okay.
He off on the weekends. So
okay.
But he just texted me before we started recording. Said he was about to call me, but I told him we about to record, so I told him I'll call him.
And that's why I said to bring the story up because she was over here kikiing at her phone.
Shut up.
Well, I'm gonna press record now. Okay. Psych, it's been recording for the past 5 minutes. Welcome to this week's episode of Wine and Audacity, the podcast. Now I'm your host, Brandon Secor, and I'm just Sicard. I can say my last name. I can't even say it right.
That's what you get.
And I'm joined by one of my two favorite people in the world. How you doing this week, Shauna?
All right.
That's good. So notice I said one.
So she felt good.
Yeah, I said one because he had a family emergency this week, so she is out. But in her place, we have our first ever return guest. She was on our Not Safe for Work episode where we talked about the BDSM quiz. What was it called? Gatorade next to the bed?
Gatorade next to the bed.
Ron is back. How you feeling, Ron?
Hi, cousin.
So what feedback you get after being on the episode that one time? We was talking about some adult.
Y'all go mind your bald head ass business.
No, because we got Shauna's business and that's time to get to yours. So,
anything that was said prior to the introduction to the show was a figment of your imagination.
Ma'am, no, that really happened.
Or shit, as you would say.
That part.
If he listening, because he said he was going to listen. Hey, chocolate.
Oh, no. Not you naming these niggas after candy bars.
That ain't a whole candy bar. That's just like a dessert.
But back to you. Back to you. So any feedback? Any notes after the episode you were on?
No, sir. No.
They wasn't in your inbox trying to do Mr. Nasty time.
They know better.
It's adult happy fun time, as we call it.
Adult happy fun time.
They know. You don't ask me no questions about my personal life that you're not part of. Excuse me.
That part.
That translates to mind your motherfucking business.
Motherfucking business. Okay, so this week we are back for a new episode. Like I said before, Key is out this week due to a family emergency. We hope everything is going well. We will keep you updated when she gets back. Hopefully it'll be next week.
We love you, boo.
We love you, Key.
Key, I'm gonna hold you down, yo. I'm gonna hold you down.
And
Got you.
Key Hive, don't fret. Don't start sending the nasty grams to us. She's still around. Like I said, she's had a family emergency. So this week, I wanted to talk about something interesting, as I do, every week when I'm clearly reading off of a script, right? So I watched a documentary on CNN entitled Three Identical Strangers, where over a period of time, two brothers discovered that they were twins after one brother was incorrectly assumed to be the other at a community college. Now, how wild is it that these two brothers, or two identical brothers, ended up at the same community college in upstate New York? Not, mind you, this is back in the 70s, so social media wasn't a thing. All they had was newspapers and televisions and house phones with the long cord.
If you was lucky, you had a long cord. If you wasn't lucky, that motherfucking phone was on the wall.
In the kitchen.
And you
had to sit your ass
You had
there
to stand there, lean up against the wall. If it was a countertop, lean on the countertop. I was like, nigga, I call you back. My legs hurt.
My
or
legs.
down to the floor.
That one.
Now, mind you, this is back in the 70s, so they had what was avocado green phone. Everything was like brown.
And they had a rotary, probably.
The rotary, right. They probably had to touch
And Pepto-Bismol pink.
Ooh.
That was an ugly ass shade of pink.
We say that like we was around in the 70s. I damn sure wasn't.
My mama was barely around in the 70s.
My mother was grown and had bills, but my father was.
I was a glimmer in my parents' eyes.
My parents hadn't even met yet. They ain't meet till 1980.
Had they met yet?
Mine hadn't either. Mine ain't meet to the 80s.
Yeah, I met in 1980. So
I think mine might have met in the late 70s.
Okay.
Maybe.
Okay, so after some time of publicity, another man came forward due to their shared resemblance and matching adoption circumstances. And in this, they discovered that they were actually identical triplets. So the synopsis from Wikipedia for the Three Identical Strangers documentary states the triplet brothers had been involved as children in a study by psychiatrists Peter B. Neubauer and Viola W. Bernard under the auspices of the Jewish Board of Guardians, which involved periodic visits and evaluations of the boys, the full intent of which was never explained to the adoptive parents. Following the revelation that the boys were triplets, the parents sought more information from the Louise Wise Adoption Agency. Excuse me. Which claimed that they had separated the boys because of the difficulty of placing triplets in a single household. But upon further investigation, it was revealed that the infants had been intentionally separated and placed with families having different parenting styles and economic levels. One family was blue collar, one was middle class, and one was affluent as an experiment on human subjects. They and other sets of twins, or rather children of multiple births, were involved in the study, were also chosen because their parents had reported signs of mental illness prior to having children. Over time, however, differences between the three men became apparent, and their relationships with others experienced difficulties. All three had struggled with mental health problems for years, and one of the brothers, Eddie Galland, my apologies for mispronouncing his name, died by suicide in 1985 following a diagnosis with manic depressive disorder. The results of the experiment had never been disclosed by the adoption agency or the psychiatric team. However, it is known that among the sets of children separated from their siblings, many have since committed suicide.
Wow.
Yeah. So after watching this documentary, I wanted to discuss the idea of nature versus nurture to understand your viewpoints of whether or not you feel your behavior or personality has been influenced by or is a direct result of the environment you were raised in, or if it would have manifested regardless of the environment you were placed into. Right?
Okay.
So before we get into that, I watched the Three Identical Strangers documentary when it premiered on CNN back in 2018, like when it first came out. Ron, you said you watched it several years.
I watched it for school, but it was a while ago.
Okay. Shauna actually watched it for the first time last night.
Yes.
So tell me your reaction. She actually called me, but I want y'all to hear her reaction. What was your reaction as you were sitting there watching the documentary last night?
What the fuck? Initially was my reaction because could you imagine finding out after 18 or 19 years that not only are you a twin, but then a few weeks later you find out that you're a triplet? Like, do you, I just wonder, like, do you feel like you missed out on something in life? Do you feel like a part of you has been missing all this time? Like, I just couldn't imagine. And then as the story went on and it got to the fact that they pretty much were using these kids as test crash dummies. Like, that shit blew my mind.
Yeah.
Like, first thing out of my mind was law fucking suit.
Yeah.
Because
it's unethical.
Very unethical.
Yeah, you
But
can't
what
test
makes it
people.
unethical?
Because they did it with the intention of, they never even tried to keep them kids together. That's the thing. They just made up lies that said that most people won't adopt triplets or twins or siblings or whatever. But they used it for their own, like, for their own game. And then to this day, 2023, the results still haven't been released.
But it's also that. It's also unethical in the sense that they didn't tell the people who adopted these kids that one of the children were of multiple births. Because I remember from watching the documentary, the father of one of the brothers said, "Had I known that there were two other ones, I would have took all three of them." Mm-hmm. But it was unethical because they were testing these kids to understand the premise or the argument of nature versus nurture. But they didn't tell the families.
Nope.
The families were unassuming. There were mental health concerns that the families weren't aware about.
Yep.
And they
didn't give them their full history.
They didn't, and they ultimately ended up like I just read in the script. They split up children who were born together, who lived together, and they just put them all in different homes. And I remember watching it, and it said at the end, till this day, they don't know how many children that went through that agency that were split up. And at the time the episode had aired, they still didn't. There were still people out there who may have been a twin or a triplet or a quadruplet and have siblings elsewhere, and they've never met them or never come across them. And one of the brothers who
some
was
sister type shit, like, oh my God, mom, she has my face. Like,
right.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
And in the documentary, one of the brothers, who I think he was actually one of the people who was involved in the lawsuit with the agency, which of course has now been closed for several years. Their findings was sent, I believe, was to either University of Connecticut or to Yale.
It was Yale.
And it was sent to in their archives.
And it was locked until like 2060 something or some
right.
shit.
And
like
I think
that.
he said they did it so where all the kids in the study would have long passed since then. Because I think these kids were born in like the late 50s or early 60s.
They was born I know them twins was born in the 60s, I think, because they met each other in the 80s.
It was like early 80s when they met.
Yeah.
So yeah, like it's unethical because, of course, like I said earlier, you're putting people under these experiments. They don't know, they can't opt in or opt out of it. And you're testing people without their consent.
So question.
Yes.
They're testing them without their consent, but most of the time kids don't have consent.
But the parents should have had consent.
But they adopted them. So
but they're still their legal guardians.
Do we know if the birth parents did anything?
No. From what I remember from watching the documentary, the boys, they ultimately did find their birth mother. But the story was she was like a teenage mother. She slept with some guy on prom night.
Got pregnant.
The father was nowhere to be found. She was young. She was like, well, I can't have, or I think she tried it for like a couple of months, was like, yeah, I can't do this.
Yeah, and then they
were Jewish. They went to a Jewish adoption agency. She handed the kids over, and she was out of it after that.
And I think they later found out that she had
schizophrenia?
mental illness.
Was it schizophrenia or like bipolar disorder?
So. Okay. I think it was schizophrenia.
Yeah.
So can we talk about, let's backpedal real quick.
Yeah.
About how those things are not disclosed when you do adoptions?
They're supposed to be.
But back then it wasn't. Yeah,
but I mean, now there's a focus on mental health and having a full docket of information when you would adopt a person. I assume, again, I don't have children. I haven't adopted anybody. But my thought process is if you're adopting a person, you would know their history. And of course, I guess it differs depending on like, if this is a newborn baby you're adopting, the mother's a teenage mother, she may not have wanted her information divulged, so you really wouldn't know. But I guess it just depends. It's like a case by case basis.
This just makes me think about because I when we started talking about the whole nature versus nurture thing, I had just started one of my classes. It was like a behavioral psychology class. I think it is called Parenting Today.
Right.
And so happened our second week was nature versus nurture. And I was like, Brad, I need you to read this article.
Thank you for sending me articles, by the way.
You're welcome. And another topic that we're covering, I think we just covered in the following week after that, was like something about genetic testing.
Okay.
And they were talking about how genetic testing is it could be a good thing, but it could be a bad thing because one of the main things was consent.
Right. So before you get into that, because I have a question I want to pose. Let's not start that. Let's get to the question. So to get back into it, the definition of nature versus nurture, per verywellmind.com, the terms are as follows. Nature refers largely to our genetics. It includes the genes we are born with and other hereditary factors that can impact how our personality is formed and influence the way we develop from childhood through adulthood. Nurture, on the other hand, encompasses the environmental factors that impact who we are. This includes our early childhood experiences, the way we were raised, our social relationships, and the surrounding culture. Good?
Okay.
Get it? Okay. So like I said earlier, Shauna provided me with an article called The Nature-Nurture Question, written by Eric Turkheimer, which states, people have a deep intuition about what has been called the nature-nurture question. Some aspects of our behavior feel as though they originate in our genetic makeup, while others feel like the result of our upbringing or our own hard work. The scientific field of behavior genetics attempts to study these differences empirically, either by examining similarities among family members with different degrees of genetic relatedness, or more recently, by studying differences in the DNA of people with different behavioral traits. The scientific methods that have been developed are ingenious, but often inconclusive. Many of the difficulties encountered in the empirical science of behavior genetics turn out to be conceptual, and our intuitions about nature and nurture get more complicated the harder we think about them. In the end, it is an oversimplification to ask how genetic some particular behavior is. Gene and environments always combine to produce behavior, and the real science is in the discovery of how they combine for a given behavior. So, I found some questions in another article Shauna sent from nobleproject.com that I wanted to pose. You ready for these questions?
Okay.
Cool. Number 1, is your personality more like one of your parents than the other? If you have a sibling, is his or her personality like yours? In your family, how did these similarities and differences develop? And what do you think caused them? Multi-part question, I know. So, guess first?
Guess first.
Okay. If you need me to say it over again, I can.
Okay, do each one by one.
Okay, so is your personality like more like one of your parents than the other?
I don't know, because as a child, yes, but as an adult, I realized not doing that.
So you don't see any of your mother or your father's characteristics in you as an adult, but you did as a child.
I'm gonna take that back. Some of my bluntness and my nonchalantness is my mother.
Okay.
Child, I know your mom. Yes. Yes, it is.
That's definitely my mother. Now, as my father, I wasn't raised with him, so I don't know.
But have you interacted with him?
No.
Oh. Never mind.
No.
So you only partially answered that question.
Right.
That's fine. Okay, if you have a sibling, is his or her personality like yours?
Me and my sister are somewhat alike.
Personality-wise?
Personality-wise.
Okay.
And I would say, me and my sister and me and my brother, we have some traits that are alike. Certain stuff that we do are somewhat alike.
Okay.
And being around you and your brother both have a stubborn trait. Yeah.
Stubborn. Yeah.
Okay. Next question. In your family, how did these similarities and differences develop? And what do you think caused them?
Growth in living. Like my brother was with my mother at a younger age. So
Okay.
he has more of her traits as the younger her. Where me and my sister were with her at an older age. So we had more of her at the older version of her. But yeah.
Was she more settled when you and Nettie came along?
I ain't even gonna say she was settled.
She was more mature.
She was more mature, but not settled.
Gotcha.
You know?
Okay.
I can relate to that, and I'll answer that when we get to after Shauna answers. Okay, so now your turn, Shauna.
All right, so the first part was...
Is your personality more like one of your parents than the other?
You a mix of both, and I ain't never met your father before.
Oh, I have.
Yeah. I think I get parts of me from the both of them. I see parts of my mother, and they tend to irritate me from time to time. Like,
Don't they always?
Ooh, Lord.
Oh, you saying I was getting wrong? Thank you so much.
She's getting
And
low.
I think...
So real quick, today we're drinking, or rather they're drinking, Turning Leaf Pinot Grigio from California.
It's tasty.
One over 500 awards. I am drinking tap water from the bread. But
from the
proceed,
bread.
Shauna.
But I get told that I'm like my father.
Wonderful glass pour. Did you hear the wonderful glass?
You're supposed to.
That's part of the show.
That's why I said.
I get told that I have parts of my father's personality all the time. Like, I have his sense of humor. I definitely have his mouth. I know that for a fact. Lord knows.
I ain't never met the man. I heard that.
Yeah, definitely have his mouth. But I think I'm a combination of the two of them.
Okay. As far as your siblings goes, are their personalities like yours in any way?
My baby brother, yes, he's a grown ass man. He's always going to be my baby brother.
My sister's the same about me. Yeah.
He's a lot like me.
Okay.
In the sense that we're both silly. We both have really big hearts. We both sensitive as hell.
Is he a Cancer as well?
No, he is a Sag. Like
Sagittarius season.
yeah, because his birthday the week before yours.
Bagatarius season.
Right, that's still Sag, right? The 6th?
Yes, it is. What you say?
Bagatarius season, as they say.
So yeah, I got multiple
I'll
Sagittarius.
take that. I don't know what it means, but I'll take that.
I got multiple Sagittarius. My middle brother, I don't think I see a lot of similarities between me and my middle brother. Me and my oldest brother, I don't think we're anything alike. We're not. We're not anything alike. Like everything about him, I love my brother to death. A lot of shit about him irritates the fuck out of me.
Does it irritate
He's a lot
you
like, but he's a lot like the parts of my father that I'm not. My brother is.
Gotcha. That was gonna be my question.
That's the same way that mine is. Yeah.
And I have a little sister on my dad's side. I don't really know much of her personality. She's like 20-something years younger than me. Sure. I haven't spent a lot of time with her. So I don't really know her personality too well to determine if she's anything like my dad. I know her mother. The little parts of her I do know. I kind of see a lot of her mother in her. But, yeah.
Okay. So, in your family, how did these similarities and differences develop, in your opinion, and what do you think caused them? We can do it in terms of like the personalities between you and your siblings.
So
that's a lot of y'all.
It is. So me and the two youngest, not the two youngest. I'm sorry, the two youngest boys. Those are my mother's children. The oldest boy and the youngest and my little sister are my dad's kids. I think the way it developed, I mean, we're close. Me and Brian and Gary are close. Brian lives out, not Brian. Brian lives with me. Gary lives out of state. He actually lives in the same state as my mother. I think with Gary, I see a lot of my mother in him as well. And I think that's why they butt heads.
That's usually how that works.
They really butt heads. And then me and my mother butt heads a lot too, because I think But I've noticed, through therapy and over the years of growing and getting to learn my mother is both of us want to be right. Mm-hmm. And one thing I'm not going to do is back down when I know if I think I'm right, that's different. I might give you a little leeway. But if I know for a fact that I'm right, I'm going to fight you tooth and nail. My mother is the same way. Mm-hmm. With my baby brother, he's the most reserved and laid back out of all of us.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think that's how it's developed. And to the kind of relationships I guess we have with each other. Like I said, I don't really have I would like to have a better relationship with my little sister, and I can admit that I need to reach out a lot more than I do because she's younger, but I also believe that she's at an age where she can reach out to me. She's a teenager. She's 2 years younger than Dre. So I kind of feel like she's at the age where she can reach out to me or,
But you still the oldest sister.
I am. And I spoke to the therapist about that.
And she ain't grown yet.
She not grown yet. And I talked to my therapist about that. And I'm like, am I wrong? Because the few times I did reach out, she never responded to me. And I was like, I ain't going to keep reaching out if I ain't getting no response.
But remember when me, you, and Keith, in one episode we were talking about me and Dante and how I reach out, I always extend the olive branch. You said, well, if you can reach out, but if they don't want to take it or they're not in a place to where they want to, then...
And I had to admit that. So I did decide to try one. Her birthday was the other day. Mm-hmm. I texted her for her birthday. And then I texted her mother to make sure I had the right number. Mm-hmm. And she was like, yeah, that's her number. So I was like, okay. So I texted her for her birthday and she ended up responding. So I was like, okay, good. Because I texted her for Christmas. She ain't respond on Christmas. I'm like, listen, sis, I ain't going to keep reaching out. You and get back to me.
She the same age as the little one over there?
She just turned 14.
Yeah, they don't respond to nothing. The message will be.
So I try to also keep that in mind because I don't want to come off as petty and childish. I would love to have a relationship with her. I would because I.
Have you extended maybe her coming to the house or them taking?
When I first went to buy the house, I had spoke to her mother and I let her know listen, I'm about to buy a house. She's more than welcome to, come spend a night. If she want to call me and just say, hey sis, are you busy? Can we go have lunch? We can go get pedicures? Can we go hang out? Can we go do something? I'm more than willing to do that. But again, I can admit, and that's, what is it being? Growth. That I can do a little more to try to let her know that I'm here.
Initiate the actual action.
Let her know that I'm here so that she feels comfortable.
Social media.
No, I don't even know if she got social media. I need to check. I know she.
Okay, so for me to answer this question, my personality, I don't think my personality is like either of my parents. Shauna has met my mother. She can corroborate. She's seen us interact. My father was the life of the party. He was an extreme extrovert. He attracted people from all over the place. That's probably how he landed my mother.
And he was fine.
Wait a minute, excuse me, sir.
Yes.
You are not an extrovert. However.
No, I said I'm not an extrovert.
Yeah, his daddy was an extrovert.
However.
His mama was an extrovert too, actually.
Yeah.
You, at the time that I done went out with you, you done made friends everywhere we go. You are a wonderful host. When you have
I'm a host.
He's an amazing host.
I got to like you to have you in my house.
But those are little things that...
No, but the thing is, I don't
Brandon be a little, I usually go to Pride with Brandon. We usually go to brunch and then, bar hop and stuff.
We go to the library and read and pray.
Lies.
Sure we do.
The library of U Street?
And
yes, apple juice.
With a little cognac mixed with it. It's wonderful.
I don't drink Hennessy.
It's Jameson.
Hennessy makes me violent.
Mm-hmm. It's Jameson.
You had the adult juicy juice?
Yes.
It's amazing.
Yes. But I've seen Brandon he's comfortable and stuff, and we get a little liquor in us. Me and Brandon be in there two-stepping and some more stuff, but Brandon is more of a introvert. Him and Key, actually. And then they ended up with me, so.
But when you get a little of the adult juice and you're a whole different... Okay.
No, I wouldn't even say that. I still feel like I'm still low-key and in the back and out the way, but I'll speak. Whereas before, me sober...
He opened up more. We get out there and get the dancing and stuff.
Me sober just be people watching like...
And Brandon ain't a big drinker anyway, so when that's really most of the only time we see, if we out doing something, that's when I really see him drinking stuff.
I mean, you like me. That's why you act like a whole different person.
Oh yeah, like once I'm comfortable around you, that's yeah. But if I don't know you, I don't know. I don't resent you saying that I go out and make friends. I don't. I literally don't talk to people when I go. I have my headphones.
They end up talking to you because a lot of people like quiet people. So, for me, if I see somebody that's quiet, I feel the need to mess with them. And I'm like, why are you over here so quiet? Because quiet people make me nervous. You look like you plotting to do something and I'm nervous.
Exactly.
Maybe I am.
And that's how I end up getting them to open.
Yeah.
I just make it a goal to get people to open up. That's just me.
Because look, the way I go out by myself and just be movies, concerts. I got a concert in a couple weeks I'm going to. I'm excited about.
Yeah, you do go to stuff by yourself all the time.
Hell, I had to because I've learned that waiting for people to do stuff with me.
You ain't gonna do nothing at all.
That's a lesson I'm learning, Chad.
I've traveled alone. I've gone to concerts. I've gone to.
I gotta learn how to travel alone.
Yeah, I've never traveled alone.
But no, so let me get back to the questions. Like I said earlier, my parents were both extroverts. My father was an extreme extrovert. He was the life of the party. People loved him. He always had women around him. Yeah, I ain't lying, bro. That man, yeah. My mother she became more of an introvert as she got older, but my mother was also an extrovert. She loved being around people until she got around maybe 50. It was like, fuck y'all, I'm not leaving my house. Don't call me. Don't ask me because I ain't coming. Even with her own siblings, she was like, I ain't coming. Brandon, go bring me a plate. I ain't
Not
going.
bring me a plate.
Yeah. Thanksgiving and Christmas dinner, she wouldn't go.
Nope.
I would tell them, I'm stopping here to see the family, and my mother said, bring her a plate. Or she would call one of her sisters and say, girl, fix my plate and send it with my son when he comes in about an hour, because he show up late to everything, like me.
Maybe this is one thing I get from my mother. I am a late person. And it's
I get that from my mother too.
It gets on my nerves that I'm late.
I try to be on time.
I'm
usually the first person
on my
there,
nerves that I'm
and I
late.
usually end up setting up.
My mother's running joke with her before she passed was, I want y'all to wheel my body into the church 20 minutes after the start of the funeral, because I'm always late. I wanted to be true. I want to be true to myself. But can we get back to the question?
Okay, go ahead. Sorry,
Oh shit! We done done it again.
Well, that little last part fed into the...
It did. It works.
That
It
works.
works. So question 2. Again, guess first.
Wait a minute, you ain't finished the questions.
Oh, my bad. So,
But you don't have no siblings. You do.
I do.
You take up it. You do.
There's a lot of niggas.
Yeah, you do. Never mind. Take it back.
Brothers.
If I have siblings, their personalities like mine, I don't think so. Maybe.
I've never met your oldest brother. I don't
Well,
remember him. He's been in jail
for
pretty much
32 years. So,
our whole relationship, friendship. So I don't know him very well. The only thing I see alike with you and your sister is the sarcasm from time to time.
We get that from my grandmother Maxine.
Oh Lord, that lady was funny.
Her birthday was yesterday. She would have been 91.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah. She died when she was like 77.
That lady was funny.
Smart ass.
I have an uncle that's 100 years old. He just hit it.
Wow.
That's a milestone.
Oh, wait a minute, we got back off topic again.
What's
the third question?
Third question. My personality, like my siblings. Yeah, my younger brother. You met my younger brother,
The youngest.
Serge. Well, my
He's
dad's
the youngest,
He's
right?
the youngest out of my dad's kids. I'm 3. He's 4.
I think
He's
I've only
number 3.
met the two of them. Two of the
Chico and Serge.
I met Chico and Serge.
While I'm talking, I'm gonna find this picture to show Ron, because we're built exactly the same. I'm just the dark spot in the family.
Not the dark spot.
I mean, I am.
But both of them are biracial, multiracial, right?
Well, so I believe Chico's mother's Dominican. So we're Haitian. My dad's Haitian. My older brother, from what I know, his mother's Dominican. My mother is black. She's African American, and my younger brother's mother is Puerto Rican.
Okay.
So it's very multi-ethnic.
Your father liked them all the rainbow.
Absolutely.
Of course he did.
Absolutely. Wait till you see his daddy.
It's me and my brothers. I'm the dark spot.
Uh-huh.
You're-
And their
Yeah.
daddy was built like that too.
Yeah.
You're all built the same.
Yeah,
Exactly the same.
Their dad was built
Yeah.
like that.
Okay.
He was taller than all of us.
But the thing is, you and your brother got the same face shape.
Yeah.
He just light skinned.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
skinned it.
I'm saying it in gesture. I don't have issues with color. Before y'all start, before this is discovered on an episode when we blow up 10 years from now,
Y'all was
he
talking
talk about the
Colorism.
Colorism. No.
Well, I must say,
Baby, we like some old shades around
okay.
in
I
these
used to like them
parts.
on
We
the
don't
light side. Now I
discriminate.
rather like the dark side.
I don't discriminate as long as you treat me
My
right.
mama, when I say my mama, I'm talking about my bonus mom. Swears up and down that I got a thing for light skinned men.
You do.
You
So
do?
next,
Nah, they like
so So my siblings, my younger brother, and we got off topic again. My younger brother, our personalities are very similar. He's
Okay.
chill. He's laid back, and I've noticed before he says stuff that I think. Like I'll be thinking a thing because our personalities are so similar, but he'll actually just come out and say it because he doesn't have a filter.
Is he-
And
how
I'm-
much
Oh,
younger?
I got a
what's his
shirt
age?
like that.
3 years younger? 4 years younger.
4 years younger
4
than
years
us,
younger.
yeah.
Yeah.
I
4 years.
figure out what
I'm gonna go get you one of them shirts I got that said I just say
I
the
think
stuff that people was
he
thinking.
says it. Like,
Yeah.
literally. And I'm like, motherfucker, I was thinking that. Yeah. So, how do I think these similarities and differences developed? We were all raised differently. We all have different mothers. We're raised in different, different ethnic backgrounds, different family structures, and so on and so forth. But I guess that would be because, again, I didn't meet my siblings until I was on my dad's side until I was like 11 or 12.
Similar to Key and her
Right.
siblings on her dad's side.
Right.
Yeah.
So for me, I think that's more so the nature part of it and not necessarily the nurture, because our personalities were similar. It wasn't environmental, it was genetic because our personalities were similar.
So due to some unforeseen circumstances, me and Gary weren't raised in the same household after we were maybe 4 and 5 because we're a year apart.
Yeah.
And then me and Brian were in the same household until he was probably about 5 or 6 because it's a 9-year difference between us.
Yeah.
So I was really the only one primarily raised with my mother my entire life. Whereas me and my oldest brother, of course, because we had different mothers, like we spent time together when my dad was locked up. My grandparents would try to get us and make sure we were together, or our mothers always had a good relationship. So they always tried to make sure we stayed together. We were close. And then it doesn't help that we were born the same day, 2 years apart. So they will always try to like give us parties,
joint parties
and stuff like that. And we tried to keep that tradition going with our children because our children are 2 days apart.
Oh, wow.
Almost exactly a year and 2 days apart. I tried to keep that going because I remember how fun it was when we were kids, but it didn't quite work out because,
It's like that sometimes.
circumstances. But yeah, I can see how we would be different, even though we have some of the same genetics and blood or whatever running through us. But that makes sense.
Okay.
Yeah.
So before we get to the next question, we're going to take a quick commercial break. I figured I'd actually build them in to the episode versus cutting it off mid thought or like halfway through a sentence. So we're going to take a quick commercial break and we will be right back. And we back. That was fast. So second question.
Cute.
It's a real quick little like Shauna says, a little rinky dink, a little
Razzle
dazzle.
A little dunk dunk. A little dunk dunk.
Question 2. Can you think of a human characteristic for which genetic differences will play almost no role? Defend your choice.
Wait a minute. Read it again.
Can you think of a human characteristic for which genetic differences would play almost no role? So think like a behavioral characteristic, which genetic differences would play no role, and defend your choice.
That's a good question.
That's a really good question.
Oh, okay. So yeah, where genetics wouldn't play, but a characteristic. I don't know if this is classified really as a being an intro or extrovert.
That's a good one.
Because that's not really
That's
based
a
off
good one.
of, like as you said, your parents were extroverts.
Hell yeah.
But you're an introvert. That's not based off your genetics. That's based off of pretty much how you were raised. And probably more than likely you are an introvert because your parents were extroverts and probably tried to force you to be around people or had you around people like, yeah, no, I'm over these people. I'm over them. Or had you at stuff and you was like, okay, yeah, that's a lot.
That wasn't necessarily the case for me. I think my niece Ebony would say that I would come around. I always was a kid that stayed to themselves when I was super young.
He was observing everything.
He was.
Yeah, I was observing.
He was like that when I met him.
Yeah, but I was always quiet. I was always withdrawn from people, and
Which is how we've been being friends. I told you I used to mess with the quiet people.
And I would come around when I had the energy to, or when I was in the space to. But after a while,
If your energy was low, you ain't want to be bothered.
Right, and I would always withdraw back into my little bubble.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's one of the things that is not genetics. It's all on you. Like all 3 of my mother kids are all different, completely. As far as I feel like I'm a both. My sister
You're
is
ambivert.
Yeah, my sister is an introvert. My brother is an extrovert. Like if I like you, Oh, you can get all this energy. All
Yeah.
the time.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
All,
yeah, same.
all
And
of
I've
it.
witnessed that firsthand with her.
If I
I
don't
heard
like
some
you,
stories.
if I don't like you,
You gonna know she don't like you. I
no,
promise
ma'am,
you.
I'm not even gonna speak
I
better
promise
eyelash.
you gonna know she don't like you.
Ain't even gonna blow
And it's
your
very,
way.
very entertaining, I must say. Because I sit back and, I laugh. I'm
I know
giggle.
you do, Shauna.
She'll giggle real quick.
I
Like,
will
this heifer
crack
over
up.
here.
So what about you? What human characteristic for which genetic differences will play almost no role? Or can you think of one?
Y'all might not agree with this, but I'm gonna say personality. Only because, you can grow up around certain people.
Okay, so I'm not overhearing this.
No,
That's outside.
but you
I need new
can
window
grow
sign,
up
y'all.
with certain people, but your personality may not necessarily reflect the people. You know what I'm saying? You grow up with, if that makes sense. So just because, I guess it kind of feeds into the whole introvert extrovert thing. Like, your mother may have been a certain type of way, but you're the complete opposite of who your mother was, or the complete. So I don't think genetics really plays a part into that. I also don't think genetics plays a part into sexuality. Honestly,
That part.
I don't believe that. Only because I hear let me use this for example. When one of my favorite people in the entire world have a girl crush on her, the Brett announced her pregnancy. It was so many ignorant comments and it pissed me off
Of
so
course it
bad.
did. Of course it
and they
was.
was like, "Oh, how you gonna raise a child with two mothers? That child need a father figure. That child gonna be confused."
Who said they
that
not gonna
pissed
have
me
one?
off.
That's why I stay out of the comments.
Yeah,
I don't
had to.
follow the shade
And normally,
millennials blogs.
yeah.
I don't even go in the
I need to
comments.
unfollow that shit. But normally,
I found it because sometimes the stuff be hilarious.
it did. But normally, the type of person I am, I would have been there responding to comments and shit. But I didn't. I just read them and was like, these motherfuckers. But baby, I know some amazing people that was raised by single parents, that were raised by two mothers, that were raised by two fathers, and that just because you were raised by, it doesn't make sense because you're saying that somebody is raised by somebody gay, they're going to end up gay. Well,
That's not how that works.
what if somebody is somebody is raised by somebody straight? You were raised by two straight people. You're gay, so
I mean, only on Sundays.
I hate you so bad.
Not on the Lord's Day.
Not only on Sundays.
You gotta praise them. You gotta.
Hey,
But that's what I'm saying. I don't think that you just are who you are.
Yeah.
but back to what you said about personality and genetics. That's very true because I think your personality is based off of what you've been through that makes you your personality. Because if you look at, for me, for example, I grew up in the hood, Emerson and Payson, hood. But if you met me,
You wouldn't know that.
You
because
wouldn't
of the way
know
you
that.
carry yourself.
you wouldn't have it.
I can actually speak to that same thing. So the last guy I dated last year sometime when we first met, this ain't nothing like
I
salacious.
know, okay.
Oh, it ain't nothing salacious. But so we have been hanging out for a period of time, and we would go out to dinner and stuff. And the one night we went to this bar in Baltimore, and I was like, well, I'm gonna take you to my old neighborhood. I took him to Park Heights.
Right.
This
Ooh,
was like
baby.
it was like
Did
11.
he lock the doors when y'all pulled up?
The
Because
doors
I
already locked, but
I grew up around them, and I walked down the street like click. Because what you're not going to do.
we were near Penn Station. We went to a bar, and I
Okay.
was like, it was early. It was like 9:00.
Yeah.
I was like, I'm
Baby, that ain't early in the hood.
I'm about to say that's not early to go to the hood, sir.
but listen, early for us to be out.
Okay.
Gotcha.
And I was like, well, shit, I'm gonna take you to where I grew up because he thought I grew up in like a 2-family home deep in the suburbs. My mother was like an executive, and my father was like this
'Cause you
big
learned-
hot shot.
Because
learn
of
to
how you carry
adapt
yourself.
to
The way I carry
Yeah.
myself.
to your surroundings to make it so you're not. You seen your surroundings growing up, and you got the mentality.
You are not where
I
you
don't
came
wanna be
from.
that.
That part.
There you go. You're not
So
where you came
I took
from.
him literally. We went from Park Circle up to Northern Parkway. I took him up Park Heights Avenue from Park Circle to Northern Parkway.
Ooh,
He
child.
was like, "You grew up around here?" I said, "Yeah."
Remember we said we could walk those streets and not be scared. Now I'm like, yep, never mind.
I told you I locked my door and I
What?
speeds up. I take this chicken because I'm fitting to run this red light.
I don't want no parts to it.
We stopped at the light at Park Heights and Wiley, and of
Ooh.
course the D boys was at that gas station right there.
Not
He was
Park
look-
Heights and Wiley.
Park Heights and Wiley.
Baby, you lucky you ain't get carjacked.
Nigga,
They don't want.
they don't want that, my old ass car.
They might take that Nissan. I
Now,
don't
if
know.
I was driving like a
Yeah.
like a Lamborghini or something, then fine. But they don't want my old ass
Something a
car
little flashy.
Right.
The
They been
Nissan
stealing kids.
because they can steal them.
because they can they literally put
I heard.
the
yeah.
screwdriver in. Just
No,
turn it
no,
on.
they not. They using the USB port.
Oh,
Not a
okay.
screwdriver.
Shut your mouth.
Yeah.
That's
I
how
seen
they
the video
doing
that
it.
they take the thing. Remember how you used to pop the ignition out with
Yeah.
the screwdriver?
Yeah.
No, they take the USB port. put it on there, and it started.
Yeah.
Get the
Yeah.
fuck out of
But
here.
he thought I had grew up in like 2-parent family and was like my family was well to do and all this stuff. And I said, no, I'm a single mother. My father he died when I was 16, but around he wasn't really around before that, you know.
Yeah.
And he's like, I thought because you carry yourself a certain way. I said,
No, because you were in that, as they say, the nature that you were in.
Yeah.
You realize I don't want no part of this.
Yeah.
When I started dating my son's father, he used to call me.
Titties.
My name is Bennett and I ain't in it.
But Brandon, you can agree.
I hate her so bad.
I'm stepping away from the mic.
Shut up. Anyway.
You bring up that man in his chest. He's brought up every single episode in one way or another.
I brought that up to say that when we started dating, he used to call me his little county girl. And I was like, what does that even mean? I grew up to say, you the one grew up in a 2-parent household. I didn't.
Right.
I didn't grow up in a 2-parent household. I lived with aunties and cousins and stuff like that. So that used to tickle the crap out of me. That he would come, oh, hey, I got me a little county girl. Boy, if you don't go to hell, like, you probably would rather have a city girl than me because I will cut you. Don't play with me.
She will.
Don't let my address fool you, sir.
Okay, Gwen Oak.
Moving on.
Moving on from that.
Not Gwen Oak.
Gwen Oak. Okay, Gwen Oak. Can I think of a human characteristic for which genetic differences will almost play no role? You talked about introversion and extroversion. Mm-hmm. You talked about personality.
Mm-hmm. And sexuality.
And sexuality. Mm-hmm. I don't think outside of the ones y'all named, I can't think of anything else like offhand.
Yeah.
Because most everything else has something to do with genetics.
Yeah.
But wait a minute, backpedal.
What?
Personality, because that can be genetic too.
What do you mean?
Bipolar.
But that's not personality. That's mental health.
That's mental health.
We're gonna classify that.
That's classified as an illness.
And mental health does tend to run in families.
Yeah.
Because we got a history.
I know a few people.
Listen, I found some stuff out.
And
sometimes it skip a generation. And
it skipped me.
For a ex friend of mine, it went to her. It didn't skip her. Yeah, so
I'm mad the light bulb just went up who the ex friend was.
Yeah, it didn't skip her. So she has it, but in a different form.
Yeah, and that can definitely be. But that could also, and one thing, while it can be genetic, that could also be environmental from slavery, Jim Crow, us as Black people. Living through that trauma for such a long period, it starts to become ingrained in us and how we were raised and how we were brought up.
One of the biggest ones that is ingrained in, I'm going to say, majority of African Americans is financial instability.
How so?
Her sister spoke on that
because we have come from the generations and generations of we can't have, and we have to struggle to have. We got to struggle to get this. We got to struggle to get this. How often
a lot of us are not taught financial literacy. I think
talk to you about it.
We weren't. Yeah. I can say I wasn't.
I wasn't either. My dad tried a little bit to an extent. My grandfather has always been really good with money.
Our grandparents were for the most part good with money, but they didn't talk to us about it.
Yeah.
They were good with it. Like I know for me, my grandparents, I've never seen any of my grandparents struggle.
But just because you didn't see them struggling doesn't mean that they weren't struggling.
I don't know if they was because
my
grandparents on my mother's side
for the most part
were homeowners, had multiple cars, had businesses, had jobs. My grandfather on my father's side,
shut my fat ass up.
You stupid.
Houses, and it wasn't like houses where they didn't have property. They had property with their houses.
Right.
Yeah, like my grandfather just recently sold some of their property in VA. But yeah, their house has been bought and paid for years, and bought their house in the 60s.
Right, but it was like one of them things where it went from...
My grandfather told me how much that house was back then. I was like,
huh?
What?
Say what? They didn't tell their kids, though, how to do it. So their kids didn't tell their kids.
I'm not quite sure if my grandparents taught my father that or if it's something he's picked up along the way. Because he wasn't always the greatest with money. My dad had a gambling problem for some years, but
Yeah, but I think also it was just access.
That's true.
Outside of like your cases, which I think were more the exception and less the rule. Like my family was poor. Even this is how
I think my family was lower middle class.
this is how I knew my uncle was a queen. My brother love Uncle Calvin, but this when it dawned on me after knowing an inkling for a while. But he was a big old queen. He told me when my grandmother was at the nursing home when she was the last year before she died, because she had dementia and Alzheimer's, and we went to see her, and he happened to be there. We just started talking, and he said, well, Brandon, I mean, you in college now? He said, Brandon, poor people don't go to college. Poor people can't afford college. I said, well, Uncle Calvin,
We're not poor.
I said, well, I have student loans. I mean, maybe it's how it was when you was back in the 30s when you came back from fighting in World War II and wanted to talk about shipbuilding and stuff.
And they ain't give them no money for what they did.
He said, darling, poor people don't go to college.
But that
Baby, not the darling at the beginning. Oh, come on, Uncle Calvin.
But that was part of the thing that they
big old queen. But hearing stories of how my mother and her siblings were raised, and there were 7 of them. My grandmother worked. They lived in a house, 3-story row house, the block behind Shake and Bake in Baltimore.
Off Pennsylvania Avenue.
They grew up around Pennsylvania Avenue in the 50s and 60s.
Which was booming.
What is that right there? Denison?
I don't know what street it is, but
it
was booming.
Division Street.
Division Street.
Yeah.
That's what it is.
Division Street. And they talk about stories of how they grew up in the house with my mother, with how my mother, her siblings,
families.
all 7 of them. But it was my grandmother, her mother, the siblings. If they were in the house or weren't in the house, if they weren't in the house, they went to the house next door, or the house across the street. They grew up close.
I still have a family who has a wall between their house. That's it. That's something that separates it. It's a wall with a door.
But that's how we, as African Americans, were. That was one of our strong suits. We stayed together. You knew your cousin lived there, your aunt lived there, your uncle lived down there. You had a cousin that
lived there. That's how it is with me now. I got family all in my neighborhood, which is when we move around there because I got the support.
Right there.
I'm not going to say how close Key and Shauna lived, but I'll say I could walk out Shauna's front door
and be at her house in 5 minutes.
Less than 5 minutes, be at Key's house.
You just got to watch for the cars.
Judging me
on foot.
You got to watch for the cars.
You got to watch because I might get hit.
And then in addition to that, my stepmother is 4 blocks away. My aunt is 3 blocks away. My other aunt is at the top of the street, and my uncle is further down. So yeah,
but that's how it used to be, and that was part of. And I think that's why
the community,
even though they didn't have the money.
Somebody looked out for somebody. Somebody might not have something
that you had that you could go ahead and get what you needed next.
But was that because they wanted to be close together, or because they couldn't because of segregation? They had to stay in that area.
I think they needed to be.
I think they needed. I wouldn't say it was segregation. I want to say it was more so.
I'm thinking back in the 50s and 60s when my people were coming up. Again, they couldn't go above North Avenue after a certain hour because they would be arrested because again it was segregated.
My great grandmother. I think my aunt spoke about this on a previous episode that she popped in on. My great grandmother was a generation from slavery, I believe. She ended up raising some of her great grandchildren, and my grandmother raised the other grandchildren, because my aunt had mental health issues or whatever, so she couldn't. She had 5 children. She didn't raise any of her children. Like I said, it was split between my great grandmother and my grandmother. So after you didn't raise your own children, and then you turn around, you're raising not your grands, but your great grands. You know what I'm saying? And then turn around and you raising some of their kids too. You know, it was a generational thing. It was.
My mother did that. Remember, my mother raised all of her grands,
pretty much all of them.
I feel like we should get back to that though, because I think like that goes back to us having that tight bond of family.
But is that family or is that out of a sense of obligation because you have to? Because I know my mother has told me this, and I hope I'm not opening a can of worms when I say this. I'm being serious. She said she kept them to keep the family together.
Right.
It wasn't
and
because
probably keep them out of the system.
Yeah,
right?
she wouldn't keep them out of the system because
that's why my grandmother and them raised my cousins and them. Yeah, to keep them out of the system. They did that back in the day. Before they saw a child go into the system, it was going to be 37 of y'all sleeping head to foot in one damn room.
But think about it now.
I lied. The 5 heartbeats. It was 2 of them grown ass men on the fucking top bunk bed. It was 3 of y'all at the bottom.
It was 2 in a person. 3 of them up top. It was 3 of them up top.
It was 3 at the bottom. It was somebody on the floor. Back in the day, everybody was at grandma's house, and the whole living room, y'all sleeping head to foot, head to foot, head to foot, and everybody ate, and nobody went hungry. Grandma might have went hungry, but she was gonna make sure them children ate. You know what I'm saying? But that's another question. Does does that go back to nature versus nurture though? Like, okay, you raised your daughter like this, and then your daughter got out here in these streets, and she decided she was gonna keep having babies, and now you're raising her children too. Or is it like, so is it nature? Like, you raised her right, but was it nurture because she got out in these streets and wanted to live a fast life, or once the '80s hit and crack and all of that shit became an epidemic.
But then let's go back. That can be
that's nurture more so, right?
But that could also
environmental.
I think it could be both nature and nurture.
Right.
Okay.
Because if you look at how we were done as African Americans when it came to slavery and people's families, people were being sold off, families were being split up.
We wanted to stop that.
Women were having children, and then the child would be sold,
snatched from them.
Yeah. And how when a slave owner would buy people or buy children from another slave owner, the woman who may have lost her child may have now had to become the caregiver, may have been breastfeeding a child that wasn't even hers. And I guess
she can't keep her own child, but she got to take care of
it. Was already ingrained in you.
It was already ingrained in her to do.
And maybe that's why that generation was doing that, because they were only 1 or 2 generations from slavery.
That makes sense.
So it's like, okay, this is what we've been doing all this time. And then by the time it got to us, we like, wait a minute, no, why are we doing this?
Okay, next question. Do you think your personality is a result of the environment you were raised in or developed independent of that environment?
Mine is a little bit of both.
Okay.
Because my quiet, shy side, where I process stuff and I overthink and I process stuff, is my where I was raised.
Okay.
My clapback, my sarcasm, my I'm going to get you before you get me.
Right.
Is my adult side.
Okay. Somebody got a phone call.
That was my mother.
Hey, Ma.
That's what we're calling him. My mother.
Ooh, he got his real name on my phone.
Shady.
That's why mine is on Do Not Disturb, so I ain't got no secrets being told.
Ain't
Mind your business.
Right. I was about to say, my phone ain't ringing. I got ain't number in my phone but tumbleweeds.
Not tumbleweed, friend.
Yeah. Tinder and Hinge is dead. Maybe because it's not summer yet. Moving on from that, we're not talking.
You ain't got your thighs out yet. Oh wait, we'll get back to this conversation we was doing. My bad. Yes. Brandon got some nice thighs and some nice knees, y'all. Just want y'all to know that.
It's getting warm. Sun's out, buns out.
Ow!
I cannot confirm or deny that.
I have confirmed all of it.
I wear hoochie daddy shorts. So, do you think, Shauna, your personality is a result of the environment you were raised in or developed independent of that environment?
I would say a little bit of both. It was some stuff that I had to learn on my own, I guess. But some of my personality came from how I was raised because I think I spoke on this before of feeling unheard. So the loudness and the joke cracking and all that stuff became a defense mechanism, I guess. Yeah. But I ended up being loud because I felt unheard. So I always would feel like I was getting cut off and stuff. So I would try to talk louder than everybody else in the room so I could get my point across. So
wine refill.
Continue,
Shauna.
As I choke.
And then she's so dumb.
Wait a minute, stop. What are you doing? That's what y'all know. Brandon just poured the rest of the wine in my cup.
He did.
And then tapped this side of the glass to get the drops.
And then the whole cracking jokes thing became a defense mechanism because I got picked on a lot when we were growing up because I was super skinny, had acne, ain't had no boobies, no butt, no nothing.
Skinny like our son is now.
Is.
Same face.
Is.
No, but so I think that speaking in terms of myself, I feel like had I grown up, regardless of what environment I would have been in, I still would have been an introvert. I still would have processed things the way I processed them. But like Shauna said, my reactions to things and again, speaking for myself, being closed off emotionally, not knowing how to vocalize how I felt about things, that was a result of my environment because my mother didn't have the emotional intelligence, and I basically grew up mirroring the same thing and didn't know that was a problem until I got older and started running into roadblocks in relating to people I was in relationships with. And it literally took me to be like, why do I keep meeting the same person in different bodies? Why do I keep meeting the same person, dealing with the
Exactly.
same person, dealing with the same
Ain't that making
personality?
acid?
Why do I keep going through the same situation over and over again, but with literally the same person, but in a different body?
I realized I was dating men like my dad.
Can we talk about how when I keep telling you my current situation, I'm doing something different. Let me do what I'm doing different because what I'm doing is different and it's working.
It's been different for 6 months. Just go ahead and slide across that man face like a slug.
No, it's working. Like it is an enjoyable moment. Let me enjoy all of it.
I did for 6 months.
So, next question.
Thank you, Brandon. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for not feeding into that.
Can you nurture someone out of their innate nature?
Yes.
How so?
I can only speak for myself. I was, as I said, the quiet. I wouldn't say nothing. I would just let it. You could crack jokes with me all day, and I would be like, okay, whatever. I'm not saying nothing. Then I realized, hold on, mother Scooter. I can crack jokes back too, and then make
Not you call him a mother sucker.
Mother sucker.
Mother sucker.
What was the TV shows on USA and like
Mickey
TNT? Mickey Ficky.
Right. Then I realized, hold on, I don't have to sit here and allow you to do this. Yeah. I can let you know I don't appreciate you doing this.
Yeah.
And then after I warned you about not appreciating you doing this,
knowing how to defend yourself and being comfortable with defending yourself.
No, it's okay for me to defend myself, and it's not a problem for me to do it. But I was originally thought, no, that's not what you're supposed to do. You're not supposed to go there.
I learned that lesson when I started working my first job at the hospital near where I went to college.
Yeah.
Because words hurt too.
It was that.
They do.
But I also grew up, again, growing up, at least in my family, adults weren't questioned. Adults weren't, wasn't no talking back. It was none of that.
You weren't allowed to defend yourself,
Never.
even if you were in the right.
Never was. So when I got my first job, working around adults that I had no relation to, I can admit it, 17, 18.
Strong middle finger.
Well, yeah, people used to just walk all over me, and I would be like, well, that's an adult. I can't say nothing. And one day, this one lady tried something. It wasn't like sexual or anything, but she tried me, and I remember it just clicked. Like, wait a minute,
Hold on, Mama Scooter.
Bitch, I'm grown. Who the fuck you talking
right?
to?
It's like you're not gonna talk to me like that. Like, we're not gonna have that type of rapport. I'm a child to you, but I'm also an adult.
We got the same pay grades.
I have no relation to you, so you can't talk to me or say whatever you
Play
want
with
to
something
me
safe, sis.
and expect me to just not
Keep it up,
sit
Geraldine.
here.
Not Geraldine.
And I think that goes again to our parents only raising us to or seeing us as children, but not instilling in us
it was always respect your elders.
Respect your elders. But then again, as it was so taught to respect our elders, we weren't taught how to defend ourselves or how to stand up for ourselves.
Yep.
As we got older and again grew into an adulthood on our own, and we had to learn or teach ourselves that as we got older.
And that's one of the things that I'm doing now with my kid. You can respond back to what I'm saying.
Boundaries, what are those?
No, we got boundaries.
No, but I'm saying back then, boundaries.
What are those? You're in my house. I'm paying the bills here.
Shut a door.
I'm teaching my daughter now that she can.
Only when you in there doing a number 2.
Exactly.
Right.
She can
changing your
speak
clothes
back to
or
me.
something. You don't shut
you
no
can
doors
comment
around
back
here.
and say what you want. You can say how you feel back to me, respectfully.
Right.
That's what I told Trey.
Yeah.
However,
when
that respect boundary come, and I'm like, hold on, I'm gonna punch you in your chest.
When it comes to that, I think it has affected my parenting.
Okay.
I had 2 totally different parents. Where my mother was more of a authoritarian to an extent. Mm-hmm. My father was more of I think the word is permissive parent. More hands off, more, he would try to be tough daddy every now and again, but he was more so trying to be my friend, right? And I wanted Carl Winslow as a daddy. I wanted,
Put your ass down, fuck up.
I wanted Uncle Phil. I wanted, daddy with some authority. A daddy like, oh, what you say to my daughter? I
but
didn't
also
really
the
have
hands
that.
on and
more so like that, right? So again, like I stated earlier, I've seen some of my mother's parenting style in me. Not that my mother was a bad parent, I'm not saying that. But my mother had a short fuse to an extent. And I did inherit some of that. And then I had to remind myself of how I felt when I was getting yelled at for dumb shit or getting frustrated over small stuff. I had to learn to parent myself parent my son a little differently. Parent him the way that I wanted to be parented.
Right.
Parent him like I felt like my Aunt Ruth parented me, where she would listen to us and ask us what was going on, or why you bring this grade? I know you could do better than this. What's going on? Where do you need help at? I had to learn to do that with my son.
Do you consider that to be more so gentle parenting?
Not necessarily, because I just feel like gentle parenting is punk ass parenting. I'm sorry if you are offended. I'm sorry. I am not about to sit here and be like, well, what? No. I'm not going to do that.
Look,
I am not, because every now and then you got to jack your kid up. I'm sorry. There's no such thing as a perfect child who has never had to get jacked up. So,
not you jacking up my godchild now.
Listen, every now and again, child. So, anywho, what I learned recently. And I had to humble myself. I had a conversation with a friend of Ron's who happens to work at trade school. And he asked me, he said to me, he's a coach and stuff. He was like, you want me to have a conversation with Michael? I was like, yeah, I appreciate that. If you hear me say two different names, Trey is Trey's nickname.
Every time she say Michael, I'm like, who the hell is Michael?
Right, because we don't call him by his name like that. That's how he introduces himself. If he don't fool with you, he is going to tell you, my name is Michael. But yeah, me and him sat and had a conversation, and he said something to me that hit me in my soul. And he said, Shauna, you have to sit and have a conversation with Trey. And that conversation needs to be, do I make you feel safe? Do you feel like I provide a safe environment for you to come and talk to me about anything? And when he hit me with that, now it didn't help that I was drinking. I got a little emotional. But I had never heard nobody break that, and it came from a man. So to hear from a man's perspective, he said, I've been working with kids for years. He said, especially when it comes to teenage boys, they have to feel like you are providing them a safe environment where they can come to you and talk to you about anything. I had to have that conversation with Trey. I had that conversation with him the next day. First, I said, do I not make you feel safe? I said it wrong the first time. He was like, no, Mom. No, you don't make me not feel safe. Some. But then later on that day, because I will snap. I can admit to that. I get frustrated and I'm like, because I told you. I turned into a fucking demon. I had to realize he doesn't respond well today. Right? So that day when he came home, his father came with him to the house or whatever. He had picked him up from after school. Shut up. He had picked him up after school. And I said to him, do you feel like I provide you a safe space where you can come and talk to me about anything? Yeah. He said, no. That shit hit me I felt like somebody stabbed me. I said, why? Because I always tell him, you can come tell me anything. I love you. I'm going to fight for you, blah, blah, blah. He said, because, Mom, I'm sometimes am scared of the way that you're going to react to things.
Yeah.
That's a hard pill to swallow.
It was. I felt like I had something stuck in my throat. I ugly Viola Davis cried.
Did you?
Because I felt so bad. Because I know what that felt like. And being
you weren't
tough,
even conscious that you were even doing it.
And being tough, I thought that's what he needed. But he doesn't. He needs to know, let me go tell Mom what's going on so that she can help me. Because he wasn't. He was just sitting there not telling me, Mom, I don't understand this class I need, or Mom, I'm not feeling this, or Mom, I don't understand. I don't know what to do. He wasn't telling me this stuff. And I would have some conversations with him, but he wouldn't. And I had to sit there and reevaluate myself. Yeah. And what I want to say to any parent who might be listening, it's okay not to be right all the fucking time. And it's okay to apologize to your children. I have never, I cannot, in my almost 37 years, remember
your parents apologizing
getting an apology for anything. My father dead and gone now, so I ain't never gonna get that shit unless I get to heaven and be like, Melvin, listen.
Remember that time?
You remember. But I think I take that. I didn't get a somewhat apology from my mother for certain stuff once I was grown, because I went into I went no contact with her ass for about a month. And I got an apology. Now, it wasn't the apology that I felt like I deserved.
But she acknowledged.
But it was a step.
It was a start.
It was a start, because I wouldn't have never gotten that.
I can also say that I've had
to apologize to Trey
after going to therapy with Mrs. Howard for some time, and I think before I took my mother into the one session she did attend with me, I had to explain like my thought process, or the way I was. My bad. Yeah, close to the mic.
Yeah,
I'm familiar. No, I had.
You was getting into it. It's okay.
Yeah, I had to explain my thought process around how, like, the way I felt about things.
Yeah.
And how I felt like part of the reason, I'll bring up this example.
Okay.
And it may seem like an insignificant thing to most people, but to me, of course, as a kid, it was just like the end of the world. So I was it was.
Everything's in the world of a kid. Everything.
I was a very, as Shauna can attest to this, I was a very nerdy kid. I liked computers. I used to build model cars. I used to play, like, I would take
the computer apart and I built one myself.
Not the computer, but other things. My mother would buy me, like, the connects, the kits where you could, like, sit there and build stuff and then disassemble it in whatever.
The godchild is so much.
Me and my
like
grandfather
you.
built the computer together.
That was
fun.
That was my jam.
And I encourage it.
Right.
Different is great.
My parents had the bright idea, and I don't know when they had a conversation about this. They wanted me to play football because of my size. Mind you,
I'm glad you brought that up. I'm glad you brought that up.
Let me finish.
I got something to say about that.
Mind you, I had never watched a football game. And mind you, I was like 10 or 11. We didn't watch sports in my house growing up. I had never seen a football game before a day in my life.
You watch football now, though, right?
No. Infrequently. If it's on, I can follow it, but I don't follow.
I'm just talking. You know what? They made a touchdown. Okay.
Yeah. I know about it because I played it for years, and like I said, I can follow along with all sports. But But
you played it because you felt like you were obligated to.
There was no feel. I had no choice. They forced me to play,
and that's something that I refused to allow Trey's father to do.
And I tried
to
tell.
What he wanted to play?
He wanted him to do basketball. He tried to make him do boxing. Trey don't want to do that stuff.
He want to build shit. It was a thing of, like, this what you need to do. There is no choice. Get your ass out in that field and go to practice. And I said, I don't
want to do this.
I think that's so unfair.
But I'll tell you what my thought process was, and I had to tell her this in therapy. I've mentioned my sexuality before, and I thought it was my mother's way of making me toughen up as a kid.
Trying to make you a man.
Well, that might have been part of her process.
And she was like, well, no, you were inactive, Brandon. You didn't do anything. So I wanted you to get out and go run and go be active. And I said,
all these other sports.
Other sport. Right.
Yeah.
I said,
no contact.
I opted into swimming. I loved being in the water. Even as an adult now, I can swim and be in the pool all day swimming laps. And I love being on the swim team.
That probably would have been more your speed.
It was my speed. I actually would leave football. When I was in high school, I would leave football practice and literally walk across the hall to the pool locker room and swim with the public team. And then I swim with the boys team in high school, at my first high school.
When you was in Chicago?
Yeah, but I said, I do not like football. I don't want to be out in this heat. I don't want to do any of this. Well, you doing it anyway.
Do they realize football is, and I talked to a couple people who play football. Football is for people who's crazy. Because you have to, everybody I know who plays football will say, yeah, you have to be crazy to know that somebody is running at you 20 miles an hour and you running at them 20 miles an hour and you know y'all going to hit each other. You know y'all gonna hit.
They didn't show up to a game. Neither one of them showed. They didn't show up.
So they made you play, but they didn't support you.
No, not at all.
Oh,
you might have stayed with it if they would have came out and said, okay.
No,
wow.
I wouldn't have.
You would have had the satisfaction. Oh, my parents are here support me. They my biggest cheerleader.
Had I been given the option after that first year, my mother, she tried this. She said, Brandon, you signed up for it. And of course, I get it now as a life lesson. You signed up for it.
You gotta finish it.
You gotta finish
what you started.
Finish the season, and then we'll talk about it at the end of the season. So I was like, all right, well, I agree. It's the season. The season's almost over. Next year came around. You got stuff for football? What stuff for football?
Did you forget these people is running at me 20 miles an hour, and I got to run at them at 20 miles an hour, and we going to collide? The hell is wrong with you?
I want to go to computer club. I don't want
to do this.
That's why I never forced Trey into sports. My father was a football coach for years, for Pop Warner, for a semi-pro team, all of that. And when he found out that he was having a grandson, baby,
he knew he'd have football.
He just knew. Trey was like, Pop,
I'm not
no. The fuck I will, sir. He wasn't playing them games. Yeah. He did not. He came and got Trey one day and took him to the football field with him, and he said, Trey stood there and looked at the people and was like,
because once again, you got to be crazy to know somebody
he
is
did
running
not want to play. My father was so disappointed because he just knew.
Interest there.
Yeah. Trey told me, Mommy, I'm not playing football. I said, Trey, why don't you want to play football? Because they hit people.
Exactly.
I said, oh, okay, cool.
That was my reasoning.
So then his father thought he was going to play basketball. Because you didn't make it in basketball, you thought you was going to convince your son to. Now, it's one thing to take him to the courts and y'all shoot around and stuff. Cool. Because he did it when he was in camp and aftercare and all that other stuff. Fine. But you're not going to make him do it.
Right.
So then it was, he used to say he wanted to play soccer. Cool. If you want to play soccer, I will sign you up for soccer.
Right.
We never got around to it. I told him he still got a chance if he wants to, you know.
Right.
Or it's so much other stuff he can do. If he come to me and tell me he want to be on the damn golf team, okay, well, let me find out about this golf
got a
team.
golf team?
I think they got a golf
At
team
school?
now since we
At our
went.
high school?
And a soccer team. I think
do.
I seen they got a golf team, a soccer team. I think they still got a bowling team too. They had that when we was there because I knew somebody on the bowling team. But he's really good at. We went bowling yesterday. We did, and even without the bumpers, like he was killing it yesterday. He beat me like 3 times. I was like, I'm gonna leave you at the bowling alley because what you're not going to do. But yeah, like. I've always encouraged him to do what he wants. He likes to dance. Yeah. So if my son come to me and tell me he want to go dance for Alvin Alley, that's what the hell I'm support. Well, you're not going to try to live your life through my son.
Because them kids be training since they was like 3 and 4.
Right. And he did, you know, he did the camp that year when he was like 12 or 13. Yeah. He did do the camp that year. And he did 4 weeks. And they learned 4 routines. My son was, I was in there ugly crying at the daggone school because I was so proud of him. He was amazing. Yeah. I was like, maybe this is what
you see why my kid goes.
Right. Like my niece, it takes a lot. My niece is a dancer, okay? I said, baby, if TT had the legs you got, you have an uncle by now, is what I'm saying. Shit.
Okay, so.
But yeah, I don't believe in I don't believe in forcing children to do. Yeah. To live your dream.
And that
let
was
them develop and decide what they want to do.
And she did not, my mother, when I took her to therapy and I explained it to her, she couldn't understand or fathom why I'd held on to that for all those years. And I said, why? You forced me to do something I didn't want to do.
Because I didn't feel like I was able to talk to you.
Because we ain't had no voice and we couldn't tell them no.
Nope. It was do as I say, not as I do.
We came to an argument. I made my mind up mind you, high school football, we start practicing early August, 90 degrees outside, doing 2 a days.
No, nah.
She went out one morning.
My son can't afford to lose no weight. Nigga is 100 pounds soaking wet with bricks tied to the bottom of his damn shoes and rocks in his pocket.
Well, I was like I said in the previous episode, I was husky back then, so I mean I could have used the exercise.
The exercise thing,
but
you didn't want to do it.
But I didn't. But I told she went out one day with my sister, my nieces and nephews, and she said, "Brandon, you need to be ready for practice by the time I get back, so I can just take you, let them out the car, put you in the car, and just drive you up the street to the school." So she left out. I was in there, and I made my mind up and said, "I ain't doing it." So when she came home, she beeped the horn. I came out.
Did you get your ass whooped?
No. I told her, I said, I'm not going to practice. Why are you not going to practice? I don't want to go to practice. I'm not doing this. She had some choice words.
Of course.
You was every child but the child of God.
Yeah.
And
I told her,
knowing Brandon's mother, it was a few motherfuckers thrown in there somewhere.
And I told her, I'm out. I'm gone. I'm not playing football. And I
blame you.
So question, was you any good at football?
No.
So she right? Okay.
Yeah,
I was big.
Shit.
So of course they put me on tackle to just fall over on people.
That's it.
But I said, I'm not doing this. I'm gone. She said, fuck it. Bye. She pulled off. I went walking in the other direction. Walked to my sister's house who lived across like a park from us. I walked to my sister's job. My father met us there. He picked me up and took me right back home. And then it was never mentioned again, and then I went back to practice the next day.
Because enough is a fucking enough. His father tried to give him the box. You know, Trey father tried to give him.
He trying to put him in these activities that involve people touching him.
Exactly. He don't want to be touched. He has never been. Even though my son he's affectionate to whom he wants to be. He likes to give people hugs and.
But some stuff
like that.
Some
but
kids,
that's it.
Some kids like the active sports where you're actually like.
He came home one day and told me. I said, "You like boxing?" He said, "Nope." I said, "Did you tell your dad?" Nope. You want me to do it? Okay. I called him and said, "My son said." Of course, I got blamed for it. Yeah. But what the fuck ever. I'm going to defend my kid against anybody. I don't care. Right. I said, he don't do it. He don't want to do it. And you're not going to make him do it.
Yeah. So let's wrap this up here. This is a pretty good conversation about the idea of nature versus nurture. If you guys have any feedback or any ideas or thoughts on it, please leave us a comment. Don't forget to also leave a review and leave us a 5-star rating or 4-star rating. I don't think we'll take anything less than that, even if the app does let you do it. But with that, we're going to take another commercial break, and when we come back, Shauna is going to have her questions for our Q&A segment. Did you find the six chicks this time?
I didn't do it this time.
Okay,
I swear.
I just wanted to check.
I might got some in the repertoire though, but I ain't do it this time.
Anyways, y'all, we will be right back. And we are back after that commercial bathroom popcorn break.
Popcorn was delicious.
It was.
I buy some more of that from Costco. Okay, Shauna.
Can I throw a promo plug in here real quick?
Sure.
So for who all don't know, I sell lashes. Please follow me on Instagram at Lock of Lashes.
How you spell that?
It's LOC _ OF as in Frank _ LAS as in Sam HES as in Sam.
Okay. You know, I wear them too, and they are amazing.
I couldn't take you serious for 2.5.
I couldn't keep a straight face. That was funny.
tried.
Don't take me serious.
But if you ever want me to put some on for you,
The hell no. These lashes I got are perfect. I don't need no. I don't
Now
need-
you know Shella whole butch, and she put some fucking lashes on the show.
Shell
That
had
shit was
lashes
so. I'm gonna show you the video. When we get
As
to
a
that.
man, I don't
That
need
shit
no
was fun.
lashes.
So was Shell ass.
Shell's a whole thing.
I'm not one of them homos. I don't.
Not one of them homo.
Not one of those.
I don't wear that stuff. No shade to those who do, but that's not me.
You're not a queen.
If the mood strikes, but not one that wears makeup or facial enhancements. Anyway, it is time for this
You do
episode's
have good
Q&A.
eyebrows, though.
Thank you. I love them. They're genetic.
Nature.
Yeah, that's nature.
Nature.
Right? That's nature. All right, what we getting into this week on our Q&A segment, Shauna?
Hey yo, so before I get started, if you have any y'all so dumb. If y'all have any questions that y'all want asked or answered on the podcast, y'all can reach us at our email address on Gmail, and the email is askwandapod@gmail.com. That's ASKWANDAPOD@gmail.com. You can also hit us on social media via Facebook at One Audacity the Podcast, or via IG at _WandaPod, and also on Twitter. Okay, so when you hit us, let us know if you want to remain anonymous, if you want us to use first name, last name, first initial, last initial, or vice versa, or if you just don't give a damn about us telling who you are, because who gonna check you, boo?
That part.
All right, so
Not a soul.
the first question
Here we
is something related to the topic. And this question didn't come from a specific person. It's just one that was sitting in my in my mind. And it is, what is something that you had to unlearn from your childhood as an adult?
I touched on it earlier. It was not communicating, not speaking my mind. I had to learn how to be open and forthright with my feelings, because people aren't mind readers and they don't know how I feel or what I want if I never mention it.
Mine's is, and I know y'all probably heard this one. Children are to be seen, not heard. I had to unlearn that, because you can see them and you can hear them, and they have feelings, personalities, and lives too.
They're people.
They are people, very much.
I agree with the both of y'all. And I think mine is pretty much similar to what the two of you said. Something I had to unlearn is that, not being allowed to speak my mind and say how I felt out of fear that I would get in trouble. It's something I'm trying to teach my son, that, listen, is a way that you go about things, but you are allowed to express yourself. That whole respect your elders and all that stuff. Elders need to learn how to respect us as well, because we're human beings too with feelings. So what I had to unlearn was stop putting, I guess the best way to word it is to stop putting your feelings to the side in favor of other people's feelings, because you matter too.
But with that, when you have to be, how do I say it, cautious in how you present your feelings, because you still have to value their feelings, which is
I agree.
which is very
Okay, I can agree with that.
What can be very challenging.
It can. But you, like I said, you don't completely discount your feelings to avoid hurting somebody else's feelings. If you feel the type of way, you have a right to express it.
In a nice way, sometimes.
Sometimes,
In a nice way, sometimes.
I mean, I'm about to say, because sometimes some shit require
Me to cuss you out?
Yeah. So the next question, since this wasn't a heavy topic, but it was more of a serious topic, so I want to throw a silly question in there.
Okay.
This question is, if you could commit a crime and get away with it, what would it be?
Rob a bank. Rob a bank. Rob a bank.
Rob a bank?
Rob a bank.
What about you, B?
Yep.
Saying.
No hurt, no foul.
Right. You're not hurting any, you're not hurting nobody.
Y'all, FCDA.
Banks have insurance.
Yes, insurance.
Rob a bank. Yeah.
I am going to co-sign that, and I am going to say the same thing. Yes, absolutely. Yes. Yes, if I get away, baby, we will be contrillionaires. Listen, we're going to buy an island. We're going to buy a big ass plot of land to build all our houses on it. We're going to have cookouts every day.
From not being able to pay your light bill to now owning a yacht.
You're in my business. Don't do that.
And I'm robbing Capital One. Because if you ever notice, you never see
they rob us.
You never see Capital One in the news saying they running bankrupt and they did some scams on their customers.
They got coin.
Capital One.
That's because they charge us them high ass interest rates.
You got money.
No. I want bits. I want big. If I'm doing that,
who you gonna rob?
J.P. Morgan and Chase.
Oh, them two.
Smart.
Ching ching, ching ching,
Smart.
ping ping, bow. Yeah, them two.
Smart.
Wells Fargo can kiss my ass.
Mm-hmm.
No, I want something that's been around about 200 years.
Bank of America can kiss my ass too because they didn't have them thing.
I want JP
I
Morgan
robbed
and
them on
Chase.
GP because they've been robbing me for years.
They ain't got no money.
That's why I'm not with them no more.
They ain't got no money. I want the ones with money.
Was that the last question?
Yes, that is the last question.
Okay, well, thank you to our guest Ron for subbing in for Key on this episode. We appreciate you.
Thank you for having me back.
I think she'll be proud.
Yes. And I think this was actually a really good conversation that we had
Absolutely.
discussing like nature versus nurture and learning like how parts of us are influenced or may not even be ours. It's taken on from your environment. Right?
Agreed.
I think I add a little razzle dazzle because I have a whole different perspective of my parenting.
Of course.
Same.
We appreciate that. And clearly I don't have an answer because I don't have no kids. So, like Shauna said earlier, if you have any questions for us, you can shoot us an email at askwandapod@gmail.com. That's ASKWANDAPOD. Said that fast, @gmail.com. You can find us on social media at WandaPod_ on Instagram, on Twitter. We have a TikTok page with nothing on it yet because I ain't gotten around to uploading.
And talking.
Well, I guess we'll be updated.
I'm about to record something for y'all now so y'all can have it on your TikTok.
I mean, that's fine. That'll be the only post.
That's a sin and a shame.
We're on Facebook as Wine and Audacity, the podcast, not with the word and, but the actual sign, which is called an ampersand. I know that because I looked it up because I'm a trivia champ.
Is it a hashtag or is it a pound sign?
What pound sign?
Is it a hashtag or a pound sign?
No,
It's what
the
a pound.
and sign.
The and sign.
No, I'm saying I'm changing topics real quick. Is it a hashtag or a
What
pound
are you talking
sign?
about?
Oh, it's both.
How is it both?
What?
It's not both. It's one
The
of them.
little numbers. This.
The tic-tac-toe thing.
You know.
Oh,
yeah.
it's a pound sign.
She said it was both.
It's a pound. It was a hashtag.
It depends on who you're talking to.
That's an age-based question. If somebody that's like 40, that's a pound sign.
But
somebody that's 20, that's a hashtag.
Hey, it's only because you had said it's ampersand. That's
Ampersand.
Not,
Yes.
yeah,
It's called-
ampersand.
The sign is called an ampersand.
It's
Or
called the end
symbol
sign.
is ampersand.
It's called the end sign. End.
With that being said, we will catch y'all next week for an all-new episode. And with that, be easy, be safe, and
Can
we
I
will
come
talk.
back?
Yeah, sure. You are welcome. You are definitely welcome to come back. We have to find another good topic for you to come back on.
Yeah.
Please do. I like it. I have fun.
I'm glad you did.
And I drank plenty of wine.
Yes, she drank a whole bottle of wine.
I did not drink a whole bottle by
Yes, she
myself.
did. Yes, she did. All right, we love you. We'll talk to you next week. Be safe, be easy, and we'll catch y'all later.
Bye.
Good night.
Bye, y'all.